Welcome to Share Talk, the only podcast where investors come first.
Hello and welcome to Share Talk. Today I'm joined by Simon Paull, who's Managing Director at Castillo Copper. How are you today, Simon?
Good morning, Zach. I'm well. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Part of the reason I asked for an interview with your company, apart from copper and things like that, is that you are relatively new to the London market, and I didn't know the EPIC code of your company. So, for the sake of information, a little bit of history, maybe, Simon.
Look, Castillo Copper's been an Australian public listed entity since 2009. It's had a number of assets in Chile. We've divested of those and have picked up a number of assets, predominantly in Australia, but also in Zambia. And that's our three-pillar strategy that we've developed over the last, let's say 12 months. In the most recent past, we've just recently completed the dual listing in London. That was quite a frustrating process from my perspective, as we were actually targeting to do that September last year, and then there was something called Brexit that slowed us down, then there was the general election that slowed us down, and then there was something called COVID that also slowed us down. So I was very happy that we finally got that away in early August.
And in terms of the latest news, which is come on hot on the heels of coming to the London market, what are the highlights from your perspective? Obviously, copper is a hot commodity at the moment, and you're well into that.
Yeah, look, we're obviously strong on copper at the moment. I mean, if you look at the coal is a four-letter word, petrochemicals is a four-letter word. We've always thought that copper is a safe bet on the future. Everyone, no one can rely on the information coming out of China, but what we can rely on is that there's going to be strong demand for copper going forward in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And if you understand the cycle that it takes to bring new mines on and the shrinking supply, copper is just a safe bet. And I'm really referring to here about electrification of vehicles, cars, boats, planes, even trains. And people say, well, yeah, but maybe copper might not be the secret ingredient in the new battery technology. And I said, that's fine. But I actually think hydrogen fuel cells is going to be the way to go. But you then have to look at transmission. There is so much copper required for efficient transmission in EVs. We don't need copper necessarily to be a crucial part or a heavy part of the new battery technologies. So with that said, we've always been that was very purposeful, targeted. Let's go for copper. Coming back to our recent announcement, with as I mentioned before in the intro, we've got a three-pillar strategy. The three pillars are Kangi copper mine. It was an operating copper mine until just pre-World War I, believe it or not. Very, very high grades of copper there. I think it's recorded some of the highest grade copper readings anywhere in Australia. The guys down tools, they went off to war. They came back and they said, no, this is too hard. We picked up Kangi, and what we've basically found and what we really strongly believe is that the old timers, they were doing grade control with a shovel in their hand. There was no real proper mine planning. I mean, we're talking, mining technology of over 100 years ago. Now, based on that, we think if we apply modern diagnostic, modern investigative tools, and also modern mining practices, Kangi with its supergene ore, I think it represents a really good shareholder value. We still need to get it to a pre-feas, into a feasibility, and to be honest, we're super keen to do it, but unfortunately, or fortunately should I say, the Mount Oxide project has just come on in leaps and bounds. Monday's announcement was around the upcoming drilling project at both Big One deposit and Aria. Aria is a suspected massive sulfide deposit that was first identified by BHP. I think it was 1997. They did some preliminary work. The GSC hit. I think copper got unsexy. They dropped it. We've picked it up. This massive sulfide anomaly was then picked up by a Queensland government aerial survey, which revalidated and re-identified it in March. I think it was of 2019. The quantum, if in the event it is copper oxide, it's huge. It could actually be, so some of the stats that people have given to me, this could actually be Queensland's second largest largest copper discovery ever. Over the border, or should I say that, over the range, as I want to call it, is the Big One deposit. The Big One deposit is Super G ore. It's already been proved up. It's been drilled back into 1993. It was QA compliant, which means from a JORC perspective, I'm allowed to talk about it. There is a bunch of other data that we've collected through forensic investigations that I simply can't talk about because it's not QA compliant, but it certainly motivates me to look at Big One in a very, very specific way. We've got the drill program lined up. We've got the drilled earth lined up. We'll be drilling that in the immediate future. That's our second pillar, and our third pillar is Zambia. And I must admit, Zambia, there's so much puff around at the moment with Mount Oxide in Queensland, but Zambia's getting left a little bit behind. But I'm incredibly excited about Zambia. It was the reason I was brought on. I understand Africa, and we're in or adjacent to the copper belt, and we have some very, very interesting neighbours. We've just done the second round of preliminary exploration work. We're now going to turn that into ground EM, which will happen before the end of the year, and then with a view to do some drilling either late Q1, Q2 from the calendar year next year.
So basically, you've got what look to be sizable assets, market cap near 30 million. Does that suggest that you could be a mid-tier producer somewhere down the line?
That's our expectation, and that's our goal. Absolutely. Look, if I just bring us back to both ARIA and Big One, we've just identified that there is gold. We haven't quantified it yet. It's currently with the labs to get determined, but we've currently identified through the XRF readings that we actually have gold readings at both ARIA and Big One. And the reason why I get excited about gold, I know gold's frightfully exciting at the moment at its price, but what's exciting me is if there's gold there, we have iron oxide. We have something called iron oxide, copper, and gold, IOCG. IOCG mineralization doesn't occur in pockets. It doesn't occur in minute amounts. It normally occurs in large volume. And once we get that critical mass, we've got an operating mine. And that's why I'm really excited we found gold, not just because of the gold factor, well, that's it's exciting, but it suggests that there's substantial quantum there that is in mineable quantities.
So, I mean, basically the excitement here is geology-based, it's science-based, and it maybe makes you stand apart other mining plays, let's say, at the moment.
Yeah, look, as you said, we're about a 30 million sterling company at the moment, just around 50 million Aussie. Share price was 2.6 pence, I think it is. I think for the pillar strategy we have, the upside in Kangi, the upside in Zambia, and my God, the what we're talking about in Queensland and Mount Oxide, it's such a good punch. Now we're talking about Big One and we're talking about ARIA. They're the ones we've targeted first. There is another 8 prospects that we simply haven't, that we're touching the surface of at the moment. Every time we scratch it, we get excited about it, but we can only focus on so much at the moment. So we're focusing on Big One and ARIA at the moment. IOCG, please be there, and we're away.
Simon Paull, Managing Director of Castillo Copper, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Zach. Thank you for listening. Remember to visit our website for more news and other podcasts at www.share-talk.com.